Welcome to GPTV on the most beautiful Tuesday, 25th of September. My name is Philip Kingston.
I'm Gary Pearce.
And Gary, I don't know why I'm so chipper, given the fact that Melbourne got on a plane on Friday afternoon. They flew over to Western Australia, including my boys, by the way, and they got slammed.
What was that with this Liberty final? I mean, firstly, I think Collingwood came out with a stun gun and just sprayed it on Richmond because they were like, it was like they weren't. It was like, you know, the Twilight Zone.
Chewy on your boot.
You know the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
They had this. There was an episode once. Some of the older people know where a guy just presses a button, and everything stops around him, and it was like Collingwood had done that to Richmond. They just stopped, and that was all over. But I actually kicked my television on Sunday because I came home after the auctions on Sunday afternoon, and I actually thought there was something wrong with the telly because I saw the score. Melbourne was 3 points, and West Coast was like 50 points, and I thought there was actually something wrong. I was banging the screen because I thought it wasn't coming up properly. I've never seen anything like it.
So here's the interesting thing, and we talked about
that
in the sales meeting yesterday. We talked about the mind over matter.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, at elite sports level, everybody's training 24/7, 365 days per year. They've all got the same resources, the same facilities.
Yeah.
Melbourne went to Perth, I think 5 or 6 weeks ago, and beat them. And then they go over and just complete. It's like a hair in the spotlights.
It was unbelievable.
A deer in the headlights. That's what they were. It was
which one was it? Was it a hare in the spotlights or a deer in the headlights?
They were like a hare looking at the deer that was looking at the headlights. Like the hare was looking at the deer that was looking at the headlights, and both of them
got run over. Got run over by whatever headlights they were looking at. Anyway, it was quite extraordinary. Look, we're not going to talk too much about football,
but it's a fascinating insight to the human condition.
It is, Philip. If you want to think of it that way, I suppose it is. And look, good luck to Collingwood.
Yes.
And good luck to West Coast. A lot of people are conflicted like me because if you don't barrack for Collingwood, you just barrack against them. But then you've got this interstate rivalry, and then you think, well, do we really want to go to Perth rather than let Collingwood win? It's tough, isn't it? I think probably yes.
Well, I don't think there's anybody in Melbourne that will be barracking for Collingwood, except for the Collingwood supporters.
It'll probably be a busy day at the races, I think. I think a lot of people will be tuning out. Anyway, that's what's going on, Philip, the football. But let's talk about what's going on in real estate because we had a pretty good weekend. I'd say we had a very good weekend. Our clearance rate?
73%, Gary, against the industry average of 54%.
It was.
So let's quickly get those towers up. Yet again, Stephen, we did come through with our fabulous systems and processes.
Smashed it.
And we talked about this at length in our sales meetings, saying that we must be doing something right because week in, week out, we are smashing the industry clearance rate.
Let's talk about some areas that, I mean, firstly, our clearance rate was good, but there's some really prestigious areas that haven't yet aligned with the market, which is interesting. We talked a little while about some of the suburbs. But, look at Richmond, for example, a historically well-performing suburb, a little bit down. Kew, Hawthorn, those sides of the city still haven't got into alignment yet because the clearance rates in those areas are particularly low.
And here's the interesting thing. There's no question that the market is recalibrating.
Yes.
Right? And that is a lovely expression for saying the market is settling, which is also another lovely expression for it's changed, which ultimately will end up is the market prices have come back a bit.
They have.
So they have, which makes it, by the way, I reckon this is the first time in 7 years that the window is open for buyers to actually have a go. So on one side of the coin, we're talking about, we embarrassingly say, and finally we spit it out, that the market prices have dropped. But if you're a buyer today, rather than sitting on the sidelines now going, I don't know what to do, well, actually, opportunity is now in front of you.
Now, I don't know why we're doing it so much better than the industry. I think one of the reasons is also we're very realistic with our sellers, and I think that's important. I think if you're unrealistic with your sellers, and it's okay for sellers to want the record price. Why shouldn't every seller should want and have the opportunity to get a record price in no matter what market, Phil?
I think you're onto a good point here, Gary. I think vendors often get seduced by the agent that walks through the door and paints this wonderful story about I'm going to get you this price. And then another agent walks through the door that has a much more sensible view of the market. Explains the facts and says, well, actually, I think your price is going to be here. There is often the vendor that will be seduced by going with the agent that says the highest price.
And it's not about the promise of price, Philip, because a promise of price really means nothing. It's the process to get the price that counts. And I believe that's what's getting us the results for our clients.
Well, there's no question. So viewers, when you're interviewing agents, understand that it's the agent that puts the facts on the table and then talks through the process and how that process may deliver the ultimate selling price. That's the agent that you should go for. And interestingly, often that agent is Gary Peer and Associates.
He's just become straight out of commercial now, unashamed and unembarrassed. Philip,
Gary, to pick up on this conversation, whilst the market
with
has
yourself.
recalibrated,
yes,
right,
yep.
which we know is code for coming down in price, we're still getting some fantastic prices.
In fact,
that you would say, well,
in fact,
there is no recalibration.
It's beautiful because that's a real Kingstonism, that recalibration. So much so that it sort of went through our team, and we got to one of our beautiful clients a little while ago, and who was selling for, and he says in this very thick Russian accent, I have recalibrated my expectations. Who we're talking about, which was just wonderful because he actually fed back to the nonsense that you've been talking about. Anyway,
and his accent was. I love his accent.
I know, it's fantastic.
And he's such a strong, big
guy. Yeah, I know.
That when he says anything, you're paying attention.
Exactly right. For sure you do. Anyway, he knows we're talking about it. Let's move on, Philip.
Michael?
Let's move on, Philip, to the auctions of the weekend because so many good stories in those results. Look, not many better stories than the auction in Northcote, Philip. We had a fantastic result there. Simon Rodolnik was the auctioneer. An expectation there somewhere in the high sixes, maybe into the mid sevens. And lo and behold, Simon and Viv sold that unit, won at 605 Northcote Ormond for $808,000.
Absolutely.
Good to see a strong competition on Northcote. And there's nothing wrong with Northcote, Phil. I'm going to tell you, maybe the price is a little bit less because Northcote, but you can get some great value there.
Gary, it's like Dandenong Road. We've sold
some great value.
We've sold hundreds, if not thousands, of properties on Dandenong Road across our journey. And the reality is everybody's living on Dandenong Road quite happily.
No vacancies.
And viewers, whenever you buy on a main road, there will always be an inbuilt discount to what you will pay around the corner. So the reality is that the value that you get on a main road
lifestyle you
is
enjoy
higher than what you'll get around the corner.
Correct, Philip. Madden Avenue, Carnegie, that was one of your first auctions on Saturday.
It was.
I heard it went really well.
Shout out to the Goose and Fitter team and the Bentley organisation, which did a great
Coming along, aren't they?
Did a great job. It was a kind of a funny auction, this auction, because we're all in the driveway in front of the unit, and it was quite warm on Saturday.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
And there's a crowd of probably about 50 people, and I was pumped up. I'd had three double espressos. So I'm doing the auction, and I'm going at it, and my spiel, I'm on fire, right? And the crowd's loving it, Gary. Except right in front of me, in front of everybody, is this big dog.
Okay.
And it's lying there in the sun, asleep. So here's this dog in the middle of my auction. I'm going and I'm talking and I'm handing out chocolates and rah, rah, rah. And the dog, I did not, in fact, I actually said at one point, is that dog, I said to the crowd, is that dog dead? Because it did not move. It didn't matter what I say. That dog was not impressed.
Who was the favourite comedian? What was his name? Who said you should never work with dogs and children? Who was that comedian? We'll come back to it.
I think that was Sammy Davis Jr.
No, it definitely wasn't Sammy Davis Jr. It was one of those with a cigar in his mouth. Anyway, I will come back and let you know who that was.
One of the Marx Brothers, Gary.
No, it wasn't. Definitely not. But it was,
W.C. Fields.
Yes, W.C. Fields, You never work with dogs and animals.
Yeah.
Phil, let's move on to Reid Street, Murrumbeena. I want to address this one.
We should get, I think we've got to work on a new set, and it's got to be more homely set. And I reckon we should have a homely set. A homely set. This is a beautiful home. We'll talk about it in a moment. But a contrived homely set. When you see on television,
like a cooking show.
Well, something like
with
that.
A bench.
Something, and we can
have
gloves. We're going to have a dog.
Yeah.
Just a dog sitting there, and it'll make us in touch. People will think about us.
What about a cat? You have a cat?
I hate cats.
You hate cats. All the cat. There's a big percentage of cat lovers who watch this show. Look, I love cats. You can deal with me and don't ever have to think about them again.
So I'll tell you, my hatred for cats goes back a long time. But when I was living in Airlie Avenue,
in Paran,
we had this wonderful double carport at the rear, and we'd come in from a laneway.
I remember this.
Irene,
this is what you call the ultimate revenge of the cat.
Irene's pregnant with our first child. And she's not feeling too good, and we barbecued the night. That's right. Barbecued the night before. I'd left the lid up on the barbecue. Right, she's come home, and she drives her car in, and there's a cat up on the barbecue, clearly attracted by the smell. She's pregnant, not feeling too good, and she gets out of the car to watch the cat vomiting all over our barbecue. So not a big cat lover.
That's what you call cat karma. It's come round. It's bitten you where you deserve.
I was hit by the cat karma bus.
Did you ever use the barbecue after?
Oh yeah, the next night. We just fired it up, left it on for a bit longer.
I was being invited to your place for barbecue, and you were watching me eat the meat.
Did you notice that you were the only one that we served meat to? I was wondering
what was going on there, and it taste a bit funny. And you were smiling.
It's a new marinade.
Yeah, thanks for that. Very gross this show's become. Phil, 2A Reid Street, Murrumbeena now, that was sold at auction. Phil, it was passed in, sold a few moments later. And the vendor, by the way, I want to say, who watches GPTV, because I met the vendor, and they said, well, you don't know me, but we know you.
Yes.
And they said, by the way, you're right about Philip letting the team down with his dress and you didn't have your tie on. So I'm very grateful.
You'll see that I'm tied up, because that message, by the way, whoever you are, did not go astray, and it was mentioned to me on the weekend.
And so I did say that
I'm
I
all
talk about
tied up.
Yeah, tied up. Tied out. Phil, Leopold Street,
I've got
1,299,000, freestanding house, good side of the street. I reckon if there's a screaming great buy, it's that one right now. We move on, Philip, to Kooyong Road, Elsternwick, which we didn't auction because you sold it before. But I'd like to talk about that a little bit.
Nice story here, Gary. Nice story. So we had a good campaign. Yeah. Well, the quote range there via the SOI was $3 to $3.3 million.
You talk about that.
And all I can say, price is undisclosed, but we did sell it above the range.
Yeah, fair enough.
I can say that, can I?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I've just said it, and we sold it to a lovely couple. But interestingly, we'd identified one party. It looked like there was one party towards the end, so we that party came to the table. But as we'd done our callbacks, making sure that everybody had the opportunity, another party popped up, which was a bit of a surprise. But that's our systems and procedures allow for that. Anyway, we ended up going backwards and forwards.
Bit of competitive tension
between these two parties, and we ended up getting a great result for the property. Nice story, because while I was at the open for inspections on that house. We had two of the previous owners come through it. We had the owners come through it that these people had bought it from, and then the people that the previous people had bought it from also came through. So it kind of had, it's one of those homes.
Yeah, I love when that happens. It happens a lot actually, doesn't it? Old, previous owners returning, wanting to see what's going on, and checking it out. So it's very interesting. Phil, let's move on a little bit. You know, it's actually interesting because I lived in a house. You did live in a house, Gary? No, a while ago.
Brilliant.
And I reckon there was a spirit in that house. And I don't know whether... and I'd love to ask the owners if they've ever seen the spirit, the old owners.
So was it a happy spirit or a sad spirit?
It was a happy spirit, but, but I don't know,
So was there a sign for you?
Well, there was a few signs, but I don't know if you ever... I mean, firstly, you can't... there's all these rules of disclosure.
Yes.
And I mean, when I left, I never said to them, look, enjoy the spirit. See you later. She pops up around midnight.
So are you suggesting that with these new disclosure laws, that activity that happens in the house should be disclosed?
Oh, there's all those sort of talk going on now, Phil.
Well, I
don't know about that particular... I mean,
there's a particular room I'm thinking of.
Sorry?
Should you disclose everything that happened in the house?
Why? I don't know. You've got some. Am I supposed to be jumping on this?
You're meant to pick up on that, but clearly it's gone straight through to the keeper. But I think the viewers understand where I'm coming from. Anyway,
yes, it was in that room.
Spirit or no
was in that
spirit?
room.
Yeah,
I got you. Well, there was some strange things happened in that one room.
Strange things that happened in that house, quite frankly, while you were living there.
Yeah, well, that was a different thing. But anyway, spirits or no spirits?
So where we're coming from?
Do you disclose spirits?
Where we're coming from? There was a case in New South Wales about 3 or 4 years ago, where there was a terrible murder, where I think the entire family were murdered.
Yeah, something like
that. And then the agents put the property on the market, and they did not say to people as they're coming through, by the way, hello, my name's Philip Kingston, can I take your name and phone number? And by the way, 5 people were murdered in this house, have a lovely day. So no, the agent didn't say that. They just said, name, phone number, have a look around. Anyway, some Asian people bought the property. And I'm saying Asian because very often they can be very superstitious, particularly about terrible things that happened in the house, which quite frankly is not superstition, probably just sensible.
Yeah, and it's not just Asians. I mean, I don't think Mexicans would be saying, oh, there were 20 people killed, that's fine. I don't think they'd be happy about it either, actually, but go on anyway.
It's a good point. Good point. Anyway, they ended up suing because they said we would never have bought this house if it had been disclosed that in that room somebody was going like this.
We get it.
Anyway, duty of disclosure. How far will this go?
Yeah, well, that's right.
And I reckon in a few years' time we're going to have to be disclosing.
It's it now. Well, we sold, and this is actual fact, we sold where Mario Condello was shot down in North Road, and we did make sure it was disclosed. So we didn't advertise it, but it was disclosed, and the people that bought it knew about it. Did you know that? No, fair
kind
did you know that? Yeah,
yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, you know, I mean, there's always that sensationalism about those sort of awful things too, but it's becoming a very, very interesting topic, and it's hard to know where the line is of disclosure and non-disclosure. But anyway, look, I hope those people who bought their house have got it was a happy spirit, so I think possibly I could have got a premium if I'd have advertised for it.
Do you know, the reality is, just for the record, viewers, Gary used to live at 68 Gordon Street in Elsternwick. It was a very, very happy house. I had many, many good days there, and the reality is, on balance, taking away a few of the issues and a few of the things that did happen there, on balance, was pretty good.
Well, but that's not the house I'm talking about.
Oh. Which house are you talking about? Are you talking about?
No, we're not going to say anymore. We're just going to leave it there. So now let's just move. That's not the house I'm talking about.
Okay.
So anyway, let's move on to, and I don't know what room you're talking about in that house. Now we're all confused. Philip, 6 at 35 Bridge Street, Caulfield. Well, that one was a competitive auction. Philip.
Yes.
Sold for $945,000. Did you do that auction?
What a great property it was too.
Wasn't expected to get
was
that
worth
price.
money. No, we thought we'd get 800. So once again, viewers, this is a market of confliction. Can I say that, Gary? Confliction. Because on one side, we're seeing prices soften, but on the other side, we're getting some prices that are as good as we would have ever got in the middle of the boom.
Yeah, I'm not sure confliction's the right term, but I know what you're saying.
Well, no doubt my father, who is really is Captain Grammar, will be ringing me tomorrow and saying, you know, Philip, you didn't say that right, and that was incorrect. All that money, he says, I spent on your education.
Yeah, well, that was we knew that was wasted.
Exactly.
Vast contrast.
Poor fool you, Dad, spending all that money, sending me to a private school. Right. Only for 3 years, though.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that was wasted, wasn't it? At least smart enough to know not to spend any longer than that for you. It is a market of vast contrast, I'd say, Phil.
Yes.
Contrast. Phil, look, for those viewers also that watch and they think, you know, oh, it's passed in, let me say, we've sold a lot of our passed in properties. You know, we sold something in Victoria Street, Elsternwick was passed in. We sold something in Camden Street. That was passed in and sold straight afterwards.
Viewers, sorry, me just scratching my eye on that. One of the things that we do in our sales meeting every Monday morning is we analyse all of the sales. We talk about them at great length to understand how it went. We deconstruct all of the sales. But one of our greatest measures is that we ascribe a days on market to every property. So, and we call days on market the days that it's been on the market from the first time it goes onto the internet. Now, keeping in mind that the properties that we sell via auction normally go online 3 days prior to the first open for inspection. So we have a marker, and when a property is performing really well, it's generally 22 days on market.
We've got two here. We've got one here that was 0 days, this one here. Can we talk about that address or not?
Can you just let me finish the
another
story?
One for 2 days.
So that is the
2
barometer. That's the key barometer that we use as to how the market's performing, is what is our average days on market.
And what's your point?
So our point is that the great majority of our properties are still 22 days on market. When a property passes in and then gets sold later, we're blowing out to an average of 36 days on market, which is an amazing statistic.
Do you think anybody watching this would be interested in that? Do you think that's interesting, do you?
Well, I think it's fascinating.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
That's your idea of a good time?
No, it's not my idea of a good time.
Interesting information.
But that's the facts on the ground, Gary.
And you reckon
our viewers are interested in the facts on the ground.
I wanted to interrupt by saying that we sold something 0 days in 2 days, and you shut me down for your long-winded story that you think is interesting.
Well, context is everything, Gary. Context is everything.
Okay, let's move on, Philip, because we've got one more sale to review, and the price is undisclosed, but it's in Caulfield North, which was sold together with CBRE.
Yes.
And that was a great team effort, actually.
It was.
Worked really well. And Philip, the price is undisclosed. If you had looked up the statement of information, you would have seen a range between $10 and $11 million on the statement of information.
Yes.
Or thereabouts.
That's as far as you should now go,
That's as far as I am going, Philip. But anyway, it was sold.
Yep.
And
price is undisclosed. And the buyer is undisclosed.
But there was a lot of people wanted it, Philip. A lot of people wanted that site. So there you go. You know, there was a list of, between us and CBRE, we had a list of like 7 or 8 different people that all stood up.
7 or 8 that were actually at the pointy end.
At the expression of interest time. So there you go. So Phil, we're going to talk about Janet Street, which is the home that we're in. Now, both of us haven't had a high level of involvement in this home, but we've been hearing about it from Leo. He's been on and on and on about this house. He's been tapping us on the shoulder and emailing and SMSing and ringing saying, you wait till you see this home. We go, yeah. But I tell you what, he's right.
Gary, everything about this property is stunning. Firstly, Janet Street is the most fabulous street.
Wonderful street.
And this is on the north side of the street, so you've got the perfect light.
And of course, Phil, do you know that in East Brighton, there's 2 East Brightons?
Yes.
There's this side of the freeway. on the other side of the freeway.
Oh, well, you used to live in Brighton, didn't you,
I lived in
Gary?
Brighton for a while, Philip. I did, yes.
Until
I'm not saying whether that's a haunted house.
Until everybody in Brighton made it very clear that you were not the appropriate person to be living in Brighton.
Wasn't welcome.
So, fair enough too.
And darling Hannah wasn't welcome either.
Yeah. Anyway, Gary, this is the most incredible house, a postmodernist house with the most contemporary renovation that has combined the aesthetic of the postmodernist era with what I would say is cutting-edge architecture, but it's been done so harmoniously. I think this property sings. It speaks to the heart because it's everything you want in a home. It's light, bright, open spaces. It's got the charm of that 60s postmodernist era, but it just works brilliantly. And I think the renovation here, Gary, I would describe it as a bespoke renovation.
I tell you, I agree with you. And sometimes when you go up to areas like Red Hill or sometimes Torquay, and you see those absolutely fantastic houses, this has got the same sort of feel. I don't know if you can feel some of that. This has got no comparison to any home that you would ever see in Red Hill or Torquay.
No, it's the most ridiculous.
No, it hasn't. It's got a resorty feel. Have a look at this pool in this garden. So it's got a resort holiday feeling, kind of feel to it. I think it has.
I've got to tell you, Gary, quite frankly, I was in Torquay, as were you, five times last year.
Yeah, but you were the caravan park.
I've got to tell you, some of the worst architecture I've ever seen is in Torquay.
Hang on, we went for a drive along the beach.
Some of the best as well.
An incredible house.
Yeah,
right. We
saw an incredible house.
No, and what I'm saying is that this is of the ilk of some of those incredible holiday homes. It has that feel.
It just confirms to all of the viewers that your aesthetic understanding is zero, and I basically...
So we're now having a fight about how much we love this house. That's a good fight.
No, it is. I mean, because this is an amazing house, Gary, and you've essentially done it you've done no justice to it.
Viewers, you've babbled on about it.
Come and have a look at this house, because it's captured
Make your
my
own
heart.
decision.
It's actually captured Gary's, but he's got no idea what he's talking about. But the reality is, we're both agreed on one thing, aren't we?
That this is a great house.
That it is a great house.
7 Janet Street.
For completely different reasons. Clearly, Gary's reasons are nothing short of stupid. A Torquay house.
Why don't we just... the best Torquay house, Philip. A Torquay...
Oh, okay. So this is like the best house in Torquay and the best house in Red Hill.
It feels like
even
a beautiful
though architecturally it's
holiday
completely
home.
Different to anything you'd see there.
I'm looking at that, and that's got a... maybe it was something I said. Maybe it was a postcard Torquay. Anyway, I'm going to stay away from that now. Just come and have a look at it. The auction details and this weekend's inspection details are now on the screen. Something different that we're doing, Philip.
Yes.
The inspection details are there. The auction details are there. Leor and I think Aviv was also handling this sale. So
Jack
Slater. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Jack Slater. So come and have a look at this home, and we'll look forward to seeing you here. There's no auctions to talk about, Philip. It's going to be a shorter edition because
not the way you're dragging it out.
Because that's a big wrap on this week's GPTV. But next week we'll be back after the grand final, Phil, and we are digging in for the big finish of the year.
Who are you going for? There's two questions. Who are you going for, and who do you think is going to win?
Look, you know what? It's like I don't care because I don't want it to
go
into
both clubs.
Well, I'm a Carlton supporter, so you can't love Collingwood as a Carlton supporter.
Yes.
It's very hard to. But then you don't want it going into state, so I'm quite conflicted, Phil. So you know what? I'd like a draw. I'd love a draw. That would be good. And you know what? I've only ever been to.
There's no more draws anymore in the grand final. It goes into play on.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I've only been to one grand final ever in my life, because as a kid, grand final wasn't such a privileged kid, right? But I got to tell you, I went to one grand final, and it was
a privileged.
No, it wasn't such a privileged kid.
You grew up in a box on the side of the road, did you?
I wasn't going to share that story, but now you're talking about it, I won't deny it. So I wasn't a privileged kid. No, but some kids, they were like you belonged to the MCG your whole life.
Just for the record, your family didn't have a lot of money, right? But you lived in a very nice house in Elsternwick.
And hang on,
you went on family holidays. You never went without. You went to a private
family holidays.
You went to a private school.
Car trip,
just out of interest.
Only in high school. Only in high school, private school.
If all of that
we couldn't afford it in primary school.
Definition of underprivileged. Please send him some money.
So let's talk about you and the MCC, the Melbourne Cricket. What is it? MCC Club.
The viewers know very well. The viewers know very well, Gary,
when did you join the MCC?
We were farmers, right?
When did you join? When were you a member of the Melbourne Cricket Club?
Well, I was enrolled, but I didn't become a member until I was 23 or 24.
Oh, that's your sob story. So poor
I
Phil.
don't have a sob story. I grew up on a farm. I'd get up at 5 o'clock to milk the cows and feed the chickens, right? While you, Mr. Privilege, was walking down to the milk bar to get some.
I had to keep doing business with the milk.
Some lollies. Underprivileged.
No, I wasn't unprivileged.
This has gone on far too long. My name is Phil.
Who are you going to? Hang on. Who are you going for? No, we're not stopping. Who are you going for in the final?
Look, my brother-in-law and my nephew are Collingwood supporters, and I have to be with them, so I'm going for Collingwood.
Right. So you know what? Should we do it? So we say Carn the Pies?
Yeah.
No, I
can't. Go Pies! Carn the Pies! I'm Philip Kingston. Have a fantastic grand final weekend.
And that grand final, I went to Phil.
You're still going?
I saw Collingwood beat St Kilda.
That's enough. Cut.
See you next week. Bye.